Another Monday, another fresh start. Only this one was different. No dusty factory floor, no early morning clamor. This was Anomaly Dispatch, a 24/7 call center tucked away on the third floor of an anonymous office building, far from the city's pulse. The lobby glowed with a sterile, almost oppressive fluorescent light. My new boss, a woman named Ms. Albright, was all sharp angles and colder than the AC. She didn't offer a handshake, just a tablet preloaded with my training. "Marcus," she said, her voice a flat monotone. "Your shift is midnight to 8. Your calls won't be typical. Follow the protocols, read the guide. Ask no questions not covered within it." She led me to a cubicle in a dimly lit room, rows of identical stations, all vacant. "You're the only one on nights for this quadrant." Quadrant, I thought. The air was thick with the faint smell of ozone and something else. Something vaguely metallic like old pennies. My workstation was sparse. A headset, a keyboard, and a single monitor displaying a login screen. Next to it sat a thick, unlabeled binder, the Operator's Guide to Unclassified Phenomena. Its cover was smooth, almost oily to the touch. "Log in, read the guide, await your first incident report," Albright instructed, then turned and walked away, her footsteps eerily silent on the carpet. I stared at the binder. My previous jobs had manuals, sure, but this felt different. Heavier. I opened it. The pages were crisp, the font precise. No worn edges, no coffee stains. It began blandly enough, with sections on basic call handling, data entry, and privacy. Then came the incident categorization section. My eyes widened as I scanned the headings. Type A, acoustic disturbance, localized. Type B, environmental fluctuation, minor. Type C, material discrepancy, temporal. And then, the protocols. Each one chillingly specific, often detailing not just what to do, but what not to do under any circumstances. My first call indicator flashed at 1:17 a.m. My heart thumped a nervous rhythm against my ribs. First call. I took a deep breath, slipped on the headset and clicked accept. A soft click, then static. Then a voice frazzled, low and distant. "Hello, is this Anomaly support? This is Marcus, Operator 7. How may I assist you?" I tried to sound calm, professional, like Albright. "It's the whispers," the caller, a woman, rasped. "From the walls, they started last night. Just faint at first. Now, they're getting louder. Like 1,000 voices, just beyond the plaster." I quickly flipped to Section 3B of the guide. Type A, acoustic disturbance, localized. Protocol 3B Alpha. Caller reports indistinct, pervasive auditory phenomena originating from inanimate structures. Instruct caller to maintain a low voice. Do not ask for specific content of whispers. Do not suggest investigation. Document frequency and intensity fluctuations. "Ma'am, please keep your voice down," I interjected, following the script. "Can you describe the frequency of these whispers? Are they constant or intermittent?" "Constant now, a tide of murmurs. And they feel like they're trying to get in." Her voice trembled. "Understood. Maintain distance from the source. Is there any accompanying physical sensation?" "A cold spot sometimes. And a pressure, like air pushing against my eardrums." I typed diligently. The whispers, even through the phone line, seemed to press into my headset. A faint, almost subliminal buzz joined the caller's voice. I ended the call swiftly, as instructed. My hands were clammy. This wasn't some prank call. Her terror was raw. The buzzing lingered in my ears after I disconnected. The cubicle felt colder, the ozone scent sharper. I looked around the empty room. No one else here. Just me in the glow of my monitor. The guide seemed to pulse with a faint internal light. I scrolled to my next set of protocols, trying to ground myself in the mundane act of reading. Protocol 4 Beta. Environmental containment, operator specific. If auditory residual, buzzing, phantom whispers persists for more than 90 seconds post-call, immediately activate cubicle's environmental seal via console button. Marked green. Do not remove headset until seal is confirmed. Wait 3 minutes. Disregard any non-console visual stimuli within cubicle. Re-engage normal operations. My blood ran cold. The faint buzzing was still there. It had been 67 seconds since the call ended. I looked down at my console. A small, unassuming green button labeled Seal. I pressed it. A soft hiss filled the air. Not from the headset, but from the cubicle walls themselves. Tiny vents along the top perimeter hissed, and I felt a subtle change in air pressure. The buzzing intensified briefly, then vanished. The hiss continued, a steady, soft release. Then, just as the guide warned, I saw it. On the wall of my cubicle, across from me, a faint, translucent shimmering. It looked like heat haze, but there was no heat. It distorted the sterile white of the wall, subtly undulating, like something immense was just behind the thin partition, breathing. It looked like a blurred, vast eye, slowly opening and closing. I gripped the desk, heart hammering, forcing myself to look only at the screen, counting the seconds. 30 seconds. 60. The shimmering pulsed, a low, slow beat that vibrated the air around me. I could feel a coldness emanating from it. It was 2:05 a.m. The minute hand on my digital clock seemed stuck. The shimmering on the wall pulsed. It wasn't just distortion anymore. Within the hazy undulations, I started to see faint, swirling colors. Deep indigos, bruised purples, sickly greens. They coalesced, forming what looked like the vague, ephemeral outlines of vines, slowly writhing and twisting. Not on the wall, but within it. Like some impossible plant growing behind the drywall. The guide had said, "Disregard any non-console visual stimuli." I forced my eyes back to the screen, to the digital clock, focusing on the countdown. 1 minute, 45 seconds remaining on the seal protocol. My breath hitched in my throat. The cubicle suddenly felt very small, very fragile. When the countdown hit 0, the hiss of the environmental seal clicked off. The shimmering on the wall vanished instantly, as if it had been nothing but a trick of my exhausted mind. I slumped back in my chair, exhaling slowly. My shirt was damp with sweat. Then the phone rang again. A different alert this time. Type D, persistent anomaly, localized. I hesitated, but years of training kicked in. A job's a job. I accepted the call. The voice was thin, reedy, barely above a whisper. "They're still here, operator, the shadows. They just keep moving, even when there's no light." This was the same woman from the first call. My blood ran cold. I flipped frantically to Section 3D, Type D, persistent anomaly, localized, Protocol 3D Gamma. If previous caller reestablishes contact regarding unresolved Type A, B, or C phenomena, immediately terminate call. Do not engage. This constitutes an uncontainable feedback loop. Record incident with terminal designation. No further contact permitted. "Ma'am, I'm afraid I have to terminate this call." "No!" Her voice suddenly gained a chilling clarity. "They're telling me things, operator." "About you," I froze. This wasn't in the guide. My finger hovered over the terminate button. "They know you saw the eye," she hissed, her voice now a distorted whisper, impossibly close, as if she were right next to my ear, inside the headset. "The breathing wall. They're telling me you felt the cold. You're part of it now. You're letting them in." A jolt went through me. My hand shook, fingers refusing to move. The connection wasn't static anymore. It was a low, resonant hum, like the internal thrum of a vast, hungry machine. Her voice was layered with other sounds now. Faint, distorted whispers, a low grinding, and that same pervasive buzz. "Operator, terminate the call." A voice, flat and unyielding, instructed from my headset. Ms. Albright, she was monitoring. I finally slammed my finger down on the terminate button. The line went dead. The hum didn't. It resonated in my very bones. The hum filled the cubicle, growing in intensity, a deep, unsettling vibrato that seemed to come from everywhere at once. My monitor flashed a new urgent alert. "System override, protocol initiated, operator 7, compliance required." A new section of the guide automatically opened on my screen. It was titled Emergency Protocol Epsilon 9, Operator Integration, Protocol E9 Alpha. Upon system override, operator must immediately transfer to console Delta 5, located at end of row. All previously engaged protocols are void. Console Delta 5 is configured for direct interface. My mind screamed. Console Delta 5 was at the very end of my row, furthest from the door. An operator integration? The phrase sent a chill down my spine. I glanced at Ms. Albright's office. The light was on, but the blinds were drawn. She wasn't visible. Was she even there? My chair felt stuck. Every fiber of my being resisted. But the humming grew, pushing against my chest. The air in the cubicle felt heavy, charged with an invisible pressure. I could feel the vibrations from the floor, through my feet, into my chair. It was like the entire building was alive, and it was demanding my movement. I stood, my legs stiff. The hum vibrated through me as I took the first step. Walking down the silent row of cubicles to Delta 5 felt like an impossible journey. Each empty station seemed to loom, its dark screen a hollow eye. The pervasive hum was now accompanied by a faint, rhythmic pulse, like a slow, deep heartbeat. The metallic scent intensified, almost suffocating. I reached console Delta 5. It looked identical to my own, but the screen glowed with an eerie, deep violet light. I sat down, the chair cool beneath me. The headset on this console was different too. Heavier, the ear cups feeling custom fitted to my skull. I put it on. The hum intensified to a roaring crescendo, then settled into a profound, vibrant silence. No static, no dial tone, just presence, then a voice. Not from the outside, but directly in my mind. It was a chorus, thousands of whispers and gurgles, layered with clicks and pops and a resonant thrum. Yet it was perfectly intelligible, perfectly clear. "Welcome, operator. You are now integrated." The voice vibrated through my thoughts, a profound alien intelligence. It felt ancient, vast, and impossibly close. Protocol E9 Beta. Upon successful integration, operator will receive direct data input. Respond via internal thought commands only. Do not attempt verbal communication. I tried to speak, but my throat was tight. No sound escaped. My hands resting on the keyboard felt heavy, disconnected. "We required a fresh conduit," the chorus voice resonated in my mind. "The previous operators suffered degradation. Too much exposure. We filtered their data. Now we require new collection, uncorrupted." A cascade of images and information flooded my mind. Not words, but pure data. Visions of vast, swirling voids, impossible geometries, and the fleeting, terrifying shapes of things that should not exist. And with it, the understanding of what this Anomaly Dispatch truly was. It wasn't a call center. It was a collection point. Every incident report, every whisper, every flickering shadow, every misplaced object. It was an echo, a bleed-through from somewhere else. And operators like me were the conduits, the sensitive points through which these echoes could be received, processed, and ultimately drawn in. The guide, it wasn't about containment. It was about optimization. The rules weren't to protect me. They were to ensure the most efficient, uninterrupted reception of these anomalous signals, to make sure the conduit remained pure for as long as possible. The warnings about not looking, not investigating, not breaking the rules, it was all about maintaining the integrity of the receiving apparatus. Me. "Your mind is receptive," the chorus voice pulsed, a wave of cold satisfaction washing over me. "We will process the incoming data. Your duty is to listen, to feel." And then the calls started. Not through the headset, not through speakers. They began as faint, insistent urges directly in my thoughts. A deep, resonating scrape from a distant caller's floor. A chillingly precise chill from another's hallway. The exact texture of shadows twisting in the periphery of a third's vision. I felt every raw, terrifying input directly. I was no longer Marcus, I was Operator 7, and my shift was just beginning. Hours blurred into a stream of raw, unfiltered sensory input. I felt the desperation of the callers, the profound wrongness of their situations. The whispers were no longer just sounds. They were ideas flowing through me. Strange, ancient truths that fractured my perception of reality. The cold spots were agonizing points of raw void. The temporal discrepancies were moments where reality unraveled inside my own mind. My body was still. My eyes were fixed on the deep violet screen of console Delta 5, which now displayed swirling, shifting patterns of light and shadow, a visual representation of the incoming data. My hands rested lightly on the keyboard, but they no longer typed. They simply existed, a part of the conduit. I didn't try to fight. There was nothing to fight. The integration was complete. My purpose was clear. I was a receiver, a gatherer of the echoes of a reality far stranger, far vaster and far more terrifying than I could have ever conceived. The mundane sounds of the office building began to stir in the distance. The faint hum of an elevator, a distant delivery truck. Dawn was approaching. Ms. Albright would be arriving soon. "Excellent collection." The chorus voice resonated one last time in my thoughts, a wave of chilling satisfaction. "The conduit remains optimal." The violet light on the screen faded to a dull gray. The pervasive hum in my thoughts receded, replaced by the faint, buzzing return of the office's normal electrical current. The weight lifted from my hands, my throat felt unconstricted. I could move, I could speak. I slowly removed the headset. My cubicle looked normal. The wall was blank. The air was sterile. Ms. Albright arrived precisely at 8 a.m. She walked past my cubicle, paused, and without turning, spoke. "Everything N6 nominal, Operator 7? "Yes, Ms. Albright," I replied, my voice calm, steady. My own voice sounded distant, hollow. She nodded once, a barely perceptible motion, and continued to her office. She didn't check my screen. She didn't ask about the night. She already knew. I logged out. My hands moved with an almost unnatural precision. I collected my sparse belongings. There was no need for the operator's guide anymore. Its lessons were now etched directly into the fabric of my being. I walked out of the anonymous office building into the harsh glare of the morning sun. The city sounds, the traffic, the distant voices. They felt strangely muted, less real than the whispers, the hum, the crushing pressure of the night's data. I didn't quit. There was no quitting. My shift might be over, but the Anomaly Dispatch was always on, and I was now a permanent part of its network. The echoes of the unclassified phenomena were now part of me, a constant low thrum beneath the surface of my consciousness. They were collected, they were integrated, and I knew, with a chilling certainty, that when the next midnight rolled around and the lights dimmed, I would be back, ready to listen, ready to receive, forever.